1 minute after 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, Caffeine Boogie with the Bull is live on your device, whether it's on Xfinity or AT&T broadband and or something else. And what you have is the best that you can have, I guess. So we won't argue that this morning. We're on the heels of the successful broadcast last night with Suzanne Accardo and Jen Woodruff, and we talked about Suzanne's being a trafficked adult experience and escaping and other things in general with that. And I thank everybody who watched that last night. And it is still on the Dave Glovin profile. And if you want, you're more than welcome to go there and watch it. It's also on the Boogie with the Bull YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the channel, go over there and watch it, and even take it from there and share it off of YouTube and anywhere else on social media if you feel so inclined. With us today, Randy Rhodes, our partner in crime on this one. What is the good word today, Mr. Rhodes?
The good word today is donut.
You brought your own donut?
I wish. Excuse me. I live in a house.
Or you're sitting on one, because sometimes that's a good word too.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which way you want to look at it. I live in a household where I have two ladies, my wife and my daughter, and they're trying to help Daddy lose some weight and watch his calories and all his other his sugar intake. So Daddy has to almost beg just to get some snacks in the house. But so we don't have much in the way of goodies. You know, I remember I don't know who else who might be watching the show have a similar memory, but you can always count on Grandma's house to have all the goodies, right? So it was always exciting when my dad said, let's go to Grammy's today. And we all bounced in the car and we would go to the house. And she lived in Mountainville, Pennsylvania. She lived in this little 2-bedroom apartment. And that's the only place I ever remember her living. But you could count on her having candy and cookies and donuts and pastries. Why? Because she was like 500 pounds, so she loved her goodies. Yeah, I mean, you can always go out there and get a handful of snacks and goodies, and Mom and Dad couldn't do anything about it because my dad was in his mom's house, and she still had the upper hand on my dad, and my dad respected that, so he would always bow to her, say yes, yeah, you can have some candy, Randy, help yourself. But yeah, you always count on Grandma to have candy in the house. I remember going to my uncles and aunts' house. They would have their parties, right? The good old parties with the alcohol and the music and the dancing and adults acting like they're stupid and the kids just standing back watching. What the hell is my dad and mom doing? It was interesting growing up in my household. I
heard you liked the punch bowl at those parties when you could sneak up to it.
Oh my God! Yeah, there was one party. This is God's honest truth. I was, I don't know, I wasn't 17, maybe 14, 15, 16, something like that. It was a New Year's party, and my dad, who was prior military, could always go to the military base and buy groceries or buy alcohol at a very drastically reduced price. So he would. This is God's honest truth. He would come home with the back seat and trunk filled with bottles of alcohol, all kinds of alcohol, right? And he'd go downstairs to where he had his bar, and he stocked the bar and the shelves and so forth. And he got the twinkly lights turned on and got the room all decorated, and the relatives start showing up. The cousins and the uncles and aunts, and the cousins would go up to my bedroom and play games. So while the parents are downstairs playing their games. So I would go downstairs and they were, honest truth. they'd be laying out, almost passed out on the sofa and the chairs, and they're kind of like hanging on each other while they're dancing, like doing this kind of drunk dance kind of thing. And I just go, oh wow, I'll try that. Okay, so what's that taste like?
I remember New Year's Eve, my
Then
father.
I go to the next cup, and by the time I got around, made the rounds, I was loaded.
Yep. I remember New Year's Eve, my father would invite all the neighbors and their kids over, and we'd be upstairs doing whatever we were doing, and the adults would be downstairs. And then just after midnight, my father would serve everybody a big breakfast: bacon, sausage, ham,
Wow.
all those non-kosher foods that I always wondered why a kosher chef was in the kitchen making them. And then he'd call us down, and he'd watch over the alcohol, but we could come down and make a big plate and take it back upstairs. And
He would watch over
always
the
good
alcohol, huh?
Well, he didn't really watch over it in the sense that he ever accused anybody. But one of my favorite memories is he had been on the road on a business trip that took him all over the U.S. Actually, he was in the restaurant business, and he had been down for an extended time watching his restaurants down in Los Angeles, and we lived up in the San Jose area. And he went to his bar in the living room downstairs, and he made himself a martini. And he was a martini man, so if he was home every day at 5 o'clock, it was a martini. And he used Tanqueray gin, which was one of the premier more elitist gins. And he poured it, and he takes the glass, and he takes a sip, and he's not saying anything, but his eyes are squinting, and he takes another. And I have no idea what's going wrong. And he looks at me and he says, something's wrong. And he looks and he grabs the bottle and he pours it into another glass, and he takes another swig, and he said, this is all water.
Oh my God.
And he looked at me and he said,
oh no.
And he said, did you do it? I said,
oh my God.
Well, first off, I was stupid. I said, I didn't do that because I don't drink gin.
Oh my God.
and then he left it at that. And my sister Amy, who is the next one up from me, got a little talking to about it, because my father was always the kind of person that if you did something he told you not to do or something that you shouldn't do, he just kind of reminded you that he told you not to do it. And probably explained to Amy that, that martini was his signature drink, and, maybe he looked forward to it sometimes, and to get a glass of water and a couple of drops of gin in a martini was probably not something that he wanted. He had a Mercedes-Benz convertible, and I used to look for reasons to be able to drive that. Either he'd send me out to do errands, or he'd be away on business and say, you got to take the Mercedes over and have tires or something done to it. And I dropped him one time, and I figured, well, maybe I can get away with it. So I drove it for a week. I think it was down like half a tank. So I filled the tank, and by the time I got to the airport to pick him up, it was wherever it was when I dropped him at the airport a week earlier. But he brought to my attention that he did appreciate me putting the gas that I used back in it. But when I was getting his luggage out of the trunk, he wrote down the mileage. So when he got home and I was getting the luggage out of the car, he wrote down the mileage again. So he figured it out.
Oh, wow.
And he said there were X number of miles that I didn't drive, but I do appreciate you at least putting the gas in that you did use.
My dad, he worked when he was in the Air Force. His job was guiding airplanes into airports. So he did like 2 tours in Vietnam, and he was stationed everywhere. But when he finally retired, he got a job working for Motorola, selling two-way radios and stuff like that. Back in the day when you had the box telephones, right?
Yep.
But his company would provide a company car, a brand new company car. And once the car reached a certain mileage, they would trade in the car for another brand new car. And when I turned 17, had my permit, my dad said, "Do you want to buy the car that I'm driving now because it's getting ready to be turned in?" And he had a Ford Galaxy 500. Okay, big car, right?
The FBI police cruiser.
So I said, "Oh yeah." I knew it was in good condition. It was a huge car, so I said, "Yeah." So I bought it for like $2,000. It wasn't a
Yep.
lot of money. Um, the one thing I didn't take in consideration was the size of the gas tank. I started going to college soon after I got the car, so I was able to drive to the campus, and I was filling that bubby up every 2 days. That's how much gas it sucked up.
Wow. We had a '68 Chevy Impala. It had not been converted into a lowrider hydraulics custom. It was just original, and it literally came from the little old lady in Pasadena. Her husband had passed away. The car got parked in a garage at their home. She never drove. And then she was having an estate sale, and I think it had like 34,000 original miles on it. Sweet little car, but it had a 327 V8 with a factory 4 barrel. And I thought it was going to get really low sucked mileage on that, but I remember, God, that car. You put a tank of gas in that car, you could drive that car forever almost.
Yeah. Well, back in the day when I had my first car, gas was just hovering around a dollar a gallon.
Well, you're how old? Because I always forget. I know you're older than me. You're
I'm
how
65.
old? Okay, and I'm 62. I got my license when I was 17, and that day gas was 75 cents a gallon, and that Friday it went up to $1. And in California, and didn't really cause a problem. I was driving myself and my brother to school, and my brother and I were dividing it up for work, or I was driving my brother to work, and he was on his own to get home because he didn't like driving something that big. He eventually went out and bought himself a little Toyota. But my dad would give us $20 a week, which filled the gas tank. I think it had a 20-gallon tank, and that gas was mainly to get us to and from school and anything else like work or whatever we had to pay for ourselves, and so that really wasn't that bad. But I hate talking about cars only because now that I'm not in the limousine business
Yeah.
anymore, people ask me all the time, which was your favorite car, or which car do you miss the most? And depending on who I'm talking to, I'll always say it was a different car. But the car I really missed the most was the last 2 years. I leased a little
So I.
Mercedes wagon from a friend of mine. Uh, and I missed that car the most, little Mercedes R350 wagon. I miss that. I miss that the most. That was a nice car, but I wouldn't have bought it if I had the money. Then I had ended up losing the lease on it because the friend of mine that owned it wanted to trade it in on a Tesla, and I told him that if you do that, I have no intention for having a Tesla on my fleet. And but I did see something interesting. The Tesla Cybertruck has, if you open up what is the bed of the pickup truck. On the left side, there's a little door, and if you open it up, there's like 6 outlets. And if you have the hose that connects to the charging station, you can take a Tesla Cybertruck, plug it in, plug that cord in, plug it into like a Ford F-150, and you can charge that F-150. I don't know how many times you can go around charging all your friends' electric cars before you realize you can't get home because you burned up your battery charging all your friends' cars. But I hope you're getting paid a decent price for it.
Yeah, I apologize for my dog barking. My daughter's dog barking. Well, we're having groceries delivered right now.
When now? Since I guess the anchor desk has changed on a Boogie with the Bull broadcast, do we get mad about dogs barking?
See, grocery guy showing up.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that the ring? Is that
yeah,
your
it's Ring doorbell. Yeah,
comes to your phone?
Yeah, it comes to any device, iPad, iPhone, a computer. I can set it up with the computer. But I've sold years back. I was worked for a security company called what now? It's a long time ago. Anyways, I worked for a security company, working as the manager of the central station, and so I knew a lot about security, and went from managing the central station to doing sales and so forth. But of all the different companies I worked for and different devices that I sold and had installed and so forth, I want to tell you, and for price, I want to tell you what, the Ring doorbell. I know I should be endorsing it, but the Ring doorbell is a phenomenal.
Actually, you're more than welcome, because I say all the time when we mention different companies that we actually talk nice about them, that maybe they'll hear that and they'll want to do. Don't want to do sponsorship announcements. We're not taking any money from anybody.
Yeah.
We just want something to be able to give away to attract people to watch the broadcast. So, Ring, if you're watching, go ahead, Randy.
So the Ring doorbell is a phenomenal piece of equipment, and it's very, very, very affordable. The cameras are $100, and they can mount on your door frame, or they can be put inside a protective box. They're rechargeable batteries, or you can have a solar panel thing that you hang outside and connect to your Ring, the camera, or you can wire it directly to your doorbell, and it's powered by that. But the wide angle lens on that puppy, I can see all the way down both sides of my street, like 3 houses down on either side. It has a zoom feature, so I can zoom in like a half a block down the street. The audio is phenomenal.
So you can see that. Amazon driver flipping you off. For 3 houses either way after after they steal the package off your porch.
So so we went and we got the security system. The doors, the motion sensors, the window sensors. The siren is very loud, which is unusual. But coming from a security, they called me a security expert background. I love the Ring doorbell product. But then I started seeing because you have a product, the AI world decides to start sending you all these little ads and other people's video clips. I want to tell you what, some of the videos that these people send because the camera picked it up, some of them are scary as hell. This one person posted a video that the camera picked up, and you can swear to God it was a ghost, because you can see right through the person as they're walking. I'm dead serious. Or the scary ass clown person who was going around this neighborhood terrorizing this neighborhood. They just all of a sudden show up on your camera. Here you see this clown face, and it reminds you of the horror movies. But yeah, I mean, the product is phenomenal. It's that, and it's nice too because is that you become part of a neighborhood. So like almost my entire neighborhood has Ring doorbell. So you can post something, or if someone sees something, they can respond directly to your camera, to your system, and say, "Hey, Randy, just be on the watch out for this guy. He's going around checking doors or something like that." So it's this whole neighborhood thing going on as well. So, and in today's world, you need something like that. Uh,
See, I'm sorry I cut you off, but when the I want to call them kids because they're not really that old and they don't really look like they belong. But do you get people knocking on your door in your neighborhood wanting to sell you security systems?
I have never. I've been in this house now almost 10 years. I have never had a telemarketer.
No, well, no. This is people actually walking up and knocking on
Yeah,
your door,
yeah.
and
I mean, not telemarketer. I meant.
it
I meant. Yeah,
it
I've never.
freaks me out because of all the dogs. Someone will go out through the garage because it's too hard to open up the front door and get out and get back in a lot.
Yeah, some of those
And
people.
that's what it is. And some of those people, I look as they're walking away, and I'm going like, that person is selling security. No, that
Yeah,
person's casing the house.
yeah, yeah. One thing I learned, and this is a shout out for this would be Boogie with the Bulls. What you call it when you give advice. Uh, anyways, my suggestion for today. If you don't have one now and you're looking to buy a security system, it is best. It is best to have the person come to your house and look at your house. When I finally landed with Comcast, selling Comcast's security system, which is a phenomenal system in itself, eventually Comcast said, "You know what? We have 50,000 employees sitting in telephone cubicles. We can have them sell the system and get rid of this whole division, save us some money." And that's what they did. They fired all of us. And they decided to do telemarketing to try and sell a security system. That's not the way to do it, folks.
But
The best way to get a security system for your house is this. And here's my public announcement for today. The person should come to your house, check the outside of your house, check your windows, check your inside of your house, look at your neighborhood, get an idea of what is going on, because there are people who will leave a ladder outside their house, because it's too big to go in the barn. So they'll leave a ladder outside their house, hanging on the side of the wall or whatever, right? And they'll say, "Oh, I don't need window protection on the second floor because how are they going to get to my second floor window?" I said, "You see that ladder over there, just hanging?"
taking that one weirder is I've talked to lots of people, even relatives, who went on to one of these online real estate services and took a video tour of a house, then went back and took a video tour. They asked for different angles of the same house. And then without even buying the house, being thousands of miles away from that house, never seeing it, they bought it.
Hmm.
And every time, it's freaky. Every time they've said to me, the house was, when they first walked into the house, it was even better than what they thought they bought. It's freaky. It's just really
Well, it's like
freaky.
that company that sells cars, right? It has that tower-like building, and it has the cars like in like
Oh,
showing. Yeah,
Carvana with the car vending machine.
yeah.
But you can go in person to that and ask them to bring the car down, and they will, and then they'll put it back in and dry and load it back up. That vending machine thing is freaky, and it's incredibly expensive to build. But I think it looks cool. You drive by it, and I mean that's going to be the future of parking. Uh, it's wickedly expensive to buy. I mean to build, because you have to build it like as many floors above. Say that thing is 10 floors of cars. You have to be able to get it down 9 floors underground so you can get the top car out. I can't really see, but I mean I know what it looks like if that's what you're showing is one of the Carvana towers. It's really cool, but it's just crazy.
Can you see the doggy? I have myself muted.
Yeah.
That's my grand dog's girlfriend. Her name is Penny.
Okay.
And there they go for their daily walk.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's nice thing too. You talk through the camera to the people outside. So at nighttime, when Finn has to go pee, she'll go outside like 11, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'll get the notification that the camera, is picking up someone outside.
You need to teach that dog how to set it off, how to turn it off when they go out.
I'll turn on the microphone and say, "Be careful, Rebecca. Take care." And I guess the voice on the speaker is really loud, and I scare the shit out of her every time I do that. But anyways,
we had an alarm system in California in the last house that my parents owned, and you walked up 3 steps, and then there was a landing with a pad, and then you went back up like 6 stairs to get up to the 2nd floor. And my mother would forget that she went upstairs and activated the alarm and activated that middle pad. And around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, when she was going to go down to the kitchen and grab cookies or something, she'd run downstairs, and all of a sudden you'd hear beep, and everybody would wake up and know that Mom was going down to get cookies. So we finally had to remind her to not activate the pad, turn off the pad if she's going to go downstairs.
There you go. And so many people, they'll set their entry delay time. So like you have your keypad, usually at the front door or near the front door, and you'll set the delay time for the security system to activate for like 30 or 60 seconds, something like that, right?
Yep.
Do you realize, and I tell people, like, when I go into someone's house and they already have something, I'll go do a survey of their system, and I'll say to them, do you understand just how much time 60 seconds is? And they said, no. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go outside your house, and you start counting to 60 and see how far I can get into your house, right? And so they'll start counting, and I'll walk into her house. I'll make like I'm grabbing her TV and grabbing their electronics, grabbing this, going outside, and come back in. And within 60 seconds, I can clean out the first floor before the system even trips.
But it was also the opposite, because my dad needed close to, in the last house they lived in Massachusetts, he needed about a minute and a half, close to 2 minutes, depending on where he was in the house. From the time the alarm was activated, he needed that 2 minutes to hobble out of the house. So sometimes you have to deal with that. Now, Mom was standing outside at the front door, so nobody was going inside the house.
Yeah, leaving the house is different. You can set that up for a longer time because you get your stuff to get in your bags, whatever. So the exit time can be longer. It's the entrance time that people don't realize just how much you can do within a time frame before that system even trips. I had all kinds of pieces of information because of my experience, and I did very well selling security systems. I'd walk away with several $1,000s each time selling home security before Comcast started competing against itself. So what they did, they had us selling the product for the corporation, but then they allowed other people who had some money to invest to buy large volumes of the devices and then sell it out of their TV shop or out of their radio shop or whatever business they had. They could sell Xfinity security, and because of who they were, they could sell the devices for next to nothing, or even for free to get the business. So I'd be going into a situation where I'm competing against Comcast. It's like, how the hell do you do that? Because I got charged full price for the extra devices. This guy here's giving away 10 Windows sensors. Like,
Yeah.
anyways.
Anyway, they're going to get
but
your money however they want to get your money. But
so
what are you going to move on to?
Yeah. So the news today. Well, first off, you probably took notice that my flags are down. I'm sorry I didn't say anything. I can't say too much about it, but let's say for right now there is a war going on between me and the South, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Court-martialed in the North.
No, nothing like
Became
that.
Grand Dragon of genealogy in the South, and now you're going to be court-martialed again?
No, I'm going to be that guy. What was that TV series with the guy from Rifleman? He was
Chuck Connors.
Yeah, he was in the cavalry, and it starts off with him, the drums beating, and he's getting his buttons popped off his vest. What the hell was the name of that show?
I don't remember. That was 3 years before my time.
Yeah, so it was a disgrace how they did it for him, because they thought he was a coward, and he left the battle scene, but he actually didn't. But anyways, they're popping off his buttons, and then they take his hat and they punch his hat. Then they take his sword, they snap his sword in half, right?
So what? So I guess I want to cut and ask. Somebody or somebody's complained about the ornamentation on the wall behind you?
No. Okay, no one. There's no complaints about my flags. There's something else going on that I'm going to get clarity on, but supposedly I can't talk about it because there's some kind of clause where I can't talk about. I mean, I wasn't even a member.
A non-disclosure clause.
A
new studio with the flags is in the process of being built.
Well, no. Well, I was trying to join. I think I can give you this much. I was trying to join the SCV because of, and I knew I didn't have a bloodline to a Confederate soldier. But people were saying that you can still join by becoming a copperhead. You don't have to have bloodline. So I tried joining this one SCB camp. I got rejected because I wasn't a bloodline. Another person said I can join his camp. So I tried going into his camp, and I got kicked back from National saying that I can't join SCV at all, period. And that's where I got to stop talking about it. So I figured, I spent over 2 years talking about the South, having a show about the South, helping all these folks, and you're going to treat me this way. So you know what?
So that's what I never understood. Why didn't you just look in the camera and go, hey, guys, it's Facebook. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. Yeah. And if, I have an interest in the South, that's what I'm going to talk about. I have an interest in doing Southern genealogy. That's what I'm going to talk about. And if you don't like it, don't watch.
So what I'm going to do now is my great-grandfather was with the Union, and he was injured at Gettysburg, and there's a newspaper article about Abraham Lincoln coming and shaking his hand and so forth, along with all the other wounded soldiers. So you know what? I'm going to look to join a Union camp and start pushing that side, because I wish I could talk about more, but I'm supposed to be getting a letter in the mail explaining why. I know why, okay, but they're going to send me a letter showing the documented. Let's put it this way: there was a complaint made about me, and I'll leave it at that.
A complaint made against the great Randy Rhodes?
Yeah, believe that or not, yeah.
That's terrible.
And I don't know who it is. I don't know what the complaint was. So I can't even fight it because I'm not a member of SCV. I can't even fight it. So I guess it is what it is.
I guess I just keep coming back to it's time for people to realize on this thing called Facebook. You can talk about anything you want. The only ones who or do anything you want, the only ones that might give you a hard time about doing something you want to do are the people who own it. And most of the time, they will or they won't. But I mean, if you want to talk about the South and you're interested in the South, you should talk about your interest in the South. If you want to talk about your interest in the North, you should talk about your interest in the North and bring people on that want to talk about both, whatever. Because it's like I sent you that clip that I saw about the Virginia flagmen only because I can't remember who's the South and who's the North. I guess maybe I have a little bit of an advantage over you now. I live in the South, so I guess I can talk about the South. You know, it doesn't mean that they're going to talk nicely about me, but I can talk about the South. You know,
so it's not about someone watching my broadcast or watching me. I can't talk about it. I would love to talk about it, but right now I haven't decided which track I'm gonna go. So that's why I took the flags down. Because if they're going to treat me the way they are, then you know what? Maybe I don't want them either. But I'm going to try and join a union camp because I know I can have that bloodline. But you know, folks, you know your history of your family is phenomenal. The things, and I know it's not like your brother, your sister, your cousins, but you have all these people out here, right, who somehow or another connects to your family. And it's like I will be doing my show on Sunday about my one client. I got a cat that just wants to stay here in front of me here. So if you see a tail flashing around, it's a cat tail.
The cat is more than welcome.
So he has some phenomenal relationships. But anyways, one of his ancestors, or part of his family, are the Ingalls family. You know, the family that the Little House on the Prairie. You know, so he's actually related to the Ingalls. So I'm going to be doing a show. What you tell, sweetheart? I'm going to be doing a show Sunday about the Ingalls and his family.
Yeah. That was a good show.
Yeah, it was.
Except I had problems with it when you were watching it, and a father was going to take a son behind the barn. I just had to tune out at that point because it was just getting too. I don't need to know about that.
He's going to take him behind the barn and spank him. That's what he's going to do.
I don't need but I mean, I didn't need to know that. I don't think that needed to be part of the series. But also Charles had interesting ways of quote unquote punishing his children that weren't conventional. I'm going to take the paddle and hit you 30 times. Well, then 30 times wouldn't have happened. But, he always seemed to have something in mind that made you understand what you did and how you could have done it differently, as opposed to every other father in the area who had to do traditional.
Right.
Whatever. And that's just me. I get in trouble on broadcasts when people talk about traditional ways that they were disciplined by their parents, because my parents didn't discipline us that way.
My dad was in the Air Force, so his discipline was the Air Force belt. My mom's discipline. Remember those paddles with the ball attached to it, and used to, paddle ball. Well, if we did anything bad and my dad wasn't around, she'd rip off that damn ball and she'd take the paddle. Boom, boom.
My mother would ground us for X number of days until my dad got home. And then when dad got home, he might yell at us and add a few more days onto it. But it didn't last very long, because in my case, he would send me to my room, and while I was tied up, grounded in my room, I tied up the phone so that no one could use the phone because my CB radio blew out the phone line and no one would be able to talk on the phone. And then I got my own phone. Or, my brother was the kind of kid, he had video game units, and Dad thought he was smart taking the controllers away. My brother went out and bought an extra set of controllers. Then Dad took the video game unit away. My brother went out and bought another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only one occasion where my dad actually used his hand as opposed to the belt. I forget what was going on, but I swore at my mother. Okay, we're living in New Jersey, so it would have been like fifth grade, maybe fifth grade, fourth grade.
Did you eat a bar of soap?
So no.
Oh God.
He was in arm's length of me when I used a bad word to my mom, and all I remember was pick myself up off the floor, and my nose bleeding like a son again, just coming out. Yep. And they tried stopping it with tissues and ice and so forth, and my nose kept bleeding. So we were living on the Air Force base. My dad took me to the Air Force hospital, and the Air Force didn't take kindly to their members mistreating the children or their wives, right? Mm-hmm. So he said to me on the way to the hospital, "Now remember, you fell." Yes, Daddy, I fell.
I shouldn't laugh.
So when the doctor, who was like a colonel, asked me, what happened, I said, I fell and hit my face. Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah,
but I remember the bar of soap because my mother, we were all taller than my mother at that point. So what Mom would do is she would stomp on your foot. And when you yelled "ow," the bar of soap the bar of soap went right in, and it was ivory soap, which particularly doesn't taste the best. I guess.
I remember still living in New Jersey. I was at an age where my brother was older, so I would always follow him around, right? Like just traditional, little brother following big brother around. So my brother's at our neighbor's house, and they're having fun and leaving me out of it. So I went over to visit to try and get involved with what they're doing. And here is this dish of what looks like candy, right? And they knew what it was. They said, "Hey, you want a piece of candy?" I said, "Sure." So I picked out a pretty piece of candy. I put it in my mouth to find out that it was freaking soap. Yeah. And I chewed on it, and oh my God, the taste of that soap in my mouth was absolutely terrible. And they're laughing their heads off. Get out of here. So I went running home to Mommy, and she gave me some bread and some stuff to eat to try and get rid of the taste.
And then you went to the store and bought a worse tasting bar of soap for your brother and your mother. Your mother went up to your brother when he least expected it and handed it to him.
I didn't do the revenge thing, but but we had fun as kids. Yeah. But so what? Let me ask you a question. Growing up as a child, what was the worst possible thing you did that you got punished for?
For me, it wasn't a really bad thing. It was just I wasn't motivated in school. I didn't do homework. I just didn't want to go. It wasn't that I thought I knew everything. I just had no interest. So when my grades came, my parents were ready to, stand on each side and, yell that, I could have done better in this, that, and the other thing. Then it was, you lost the car. You lost, I think they took the mic away from the CB radio. They actually did take something away from the computer so that I couldn't use the computer. It was more to motivate me to, just understand that, if you sat in school and you took notes, you could probably go home and use those notes and complete your homework very quickly, and it was done. I didn't want homework to interfere with all the fun things of of life. And maybe it was, picking on my brother who was younger than me, or my sister who was younger than me, my younger sister. I have three. But, it was stupid things like that. We really weren't, in the traditional sense of parents and kids, we really weren't disciplined unless it was, something that got a little crazy. And even then, it was maybe yelling and being grounded and losing being able to do things because we were grounded. It really wasn't. It really wasn't.
My dad and mom never grounded us. There's always the Air Force belt or the paddle, the wooden paddle. I think one of the funny bad things that we did. We were stationed. My dad was stationed in England for 3 years, and they had these gigantic mailboxes at the corners of the streets, right? And as a prank, we took some firecrackers, lit them, and threw them inside the mailbox. It made a lot of noise. Didn't do much damage as far as structural damage to the mailbox, but we actually got away with that one. I remember I fell in love with this English girl. Like you gotta remember, I was this little kid. So this is like, I guess you call it the puppy love scenario. And I fell in love with this little girl. She was blonde hair. Her name was Anita Lowe. And we would spend a lot of time together. And she had this big older brother who didn't like me for whatever reason. Maybe he didn't like an American kid dating his little kid sister. But to get to the backyard, you had to go through the garage to get to the backyard. So she wanted me to come over and play. I came into the garage, opened up the garage door to go into the backyard, and here he was. He must have been expecting me, because all I remember is that I opened up the side garage door, and picking myself up off the garage floor. He had knocked me out with one punch, and he just didn't like me dating his sister. But wow, I tell you what, he had a hell of a right hand.
Yeah,
knocked me on my butt. But yeah, I had a lot of fun as a kid.
I thought for the longest time my father might have been reliving maybe fantasies of his being born in the mid-30s and growing up in the 40s and probably never being able to do it. But because we had 5 kids and 2 adults at home, and my dad was in the hospitality business, he'd order and have shipped to the house, boxes of like 100 rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah.
Now, you have 5 kids who are like in their teens to early adults through high school, and that was the weekend. That was the weekend activity. We'd always grab a few rolls and go out with our friends who brought a few rolls, and we would royal a house. I mean, it was so beautiful. We wanted to stand there and appreciate it. And if we knew where your sprinkler control was, we would turn your sprinklers on, because it was much harder to clean up wet toilet paper than it was to clean up dry toilet paper.
Yeah.
And we did one house with one of our friends who wasn't there, but we convinced his parents that it was his idea, and he was there with us, and he got in more trouble than any of us.
What else do we? So what's going on? What's going on in the world? We have Russia still getting their. I never know which news broadcast to look at as far as the true nature of the war between Russia and Ukraine. All I ever see is how Ukraine is hitting Russian tanks with their drones and destroying or sinking Russian ships, shooting down their planes and or whatever. So I never see really what Russia is doing to Ukraine, and they have to be kicking ass with Ukraine, but you never see anything about it.
I'm still convinced beyond the shadow of a doubt. Say every time they ask for money and we send them something like $70 trillion, $70 billion, I'm convinced that Biden gets a little off the top. And then before it gets to Ukraine, that Putin has to be getting a little off the top, because in no uncertain terms to me, if Putin wanted the conflict in Ukraine to end, he would have ended it as fast as it started. I think maybe there might be some truth that he's waiting until Trump is back, because Trump seems to say that he can end this in 24 hours. I don't know how. I'd like to know how.
You drop a couple well-built bombs on someone.
I don't think that's what it is. I just think that there is something other than that, because from what I understand, Ukraine's importance to us is that it would be a great location for a NATO base that would allow us to watch Russia. And Putin, I think, is the anti of Gorbachev, who wanted to free all the Russian states from the Union of Socialist Soviet States, or whatever they called themselves, the USSR. And Putin wants to bring everything back to the control of Mother Russia. And maybe that's a good thing. I really don't know. I don't know the economies of all of the individual areas that Putin hasn't brought back into Russia or have not voluntarily come back. What does bother me is I don't know if we're getting accurate reports on whether or not Iran has actually fired something on Israel that landed in Israel and did damage, as well as whether or not Israel is firing things that have landed in Iran and started damage, because I think both know that they could fire something big on each other and end the conflict very quickly. But I think maybe both don't care, or they're not wondering what happens when everybody else gets involved. And I don't think it would be the U.S. retaliating on Russia, and on Israel or Iran, as much as I think it would be Kim Jong sitting at his desk and pushing a button and not realizing that he took out Israel and he took out Iran, and starting something crazy. But I'm just a poor Jewish boy sitting here at 10 o'clock in the morning drinking coffee with my friend Randy Rhodes.
You have to admit that the Iron Dome that Israel has is a phenomenal piece of technology that is protecting God's people, and they are God's people.
From what I understand, it's not always active.
Well, from what I understand, and this is why they got hit really hard a while back, is it's not turned on 24/7. It had been, and for some reason, someone's flipped the switch and turned it off, and that's why they got their asses nailed a few months back with a missile barrage, and for some reason somehow the terrorists knew it was turned off, and that's why they were very successful for a few hours, with the attack. So, and I'm not sure why they don't leave it turned on. Maybe it takes a lot of juice. Who knows? But or maybe planes from friendly planes can't fly into Israel because it's turned on. I don't know how it actually works, but I do know that when it's turned on, it is extremely effective in taking out inbound missiles and drones and stuff. So yeah, but I know it's very expensive because it takes a lot of missiles. And they're dependent on the United States to get those missiles.
Well, right. You asked or said, I think on Monday, that you didn't know if they bought that from the United States. I looked it up, and there are 2 Israeli companies that evidently built it. And I didn't make a note of the name, but from what it looks like, the United States wasn't involved in that. I would imagine that the United States has that technology and could flip it on anytime they wanted to, or maybe we have the technology but we haven't built it yet. I can't understand a lot of what goes on. I was watching something yesterday, the interview with Scott Pelley and James Powell from the Fed Reserve Bank. And it basically made it sound like the Fed board in Washington, D.C. is responsible for inflation. They've just kept pumping out more money and more money and more money and more money into the economy until we are where we are. And they're going to keep doing it until they bankrupt us. I'm sorry I changed the subject on you, but this is crazy. I mean, we're just sitting here, allowing the government to spend money that they don't have on anything that they want to spend it on, instead of spending it on Biden's retirement.
No, I was actually just going through, looking over about the Iron Dome. So you are right. It's Israeli built, but the United States contributed to a total of $2.6 billion towards it. And it could knock down missiles 2 to 41 miles away. With 90, the last time it took out 90% of the inbound missiles. It's a hell of a system. It really is.
I'm sure the U.S. has a vested interest in how it works, and who knows whether or not they will have to buy it from Israel, but by the application and the technology from Israel. It would scare me if you were Netanyahu and you had a ring doorbell or ring cameras all over the roof of your house, and all of a sudden you get the tone and you grab your phone and you can see all these missiles aiming at the camera of your house.
Yeah. You would think by now, and probably there is, that there's some type of force shield designed, like you see on sci-fi TV shows, where their ships have the force shield I'm pretty sure they do. I'm going to look into it. I think I remember seeing videos of these vehicles who had this force shield that when it was fired on, it repelled the attack without any damage to it. But and again, this is one reason why I think we're taking technology from alien creatures. That goes into another story. But it's 11 o'clock, and I got to jump off here. I got some personal things to take care of before I go back online and start doing some stuff. But it was great being here. Too bad we didn't have any other guests with us, but maybe next time.
We'll try to get him on next time. Keith Primble from HML Media over on YouTube. was going to join us, but we'll see. We'll try to get him on another one. Next one is Friday. I don't believe Bill Muckler is going to be with us on Friday.
He has his family things going
His
on.
family Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so he didn't think he could be with us on Friday. But so be with us on Friday, and we will do our usual stuff. And Thursday night, if you want to be there and do your usual thing on Thursday night, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, you're welcome to be there as well.
If my memory reminds me to be there at 7 o'clock. Okay.
Think of it as Sunday, but it's Thursday. Or it's a dress rehearsal for Sunday.
There you go.
We'll even talk about non-politics.
There you go. Take care.
All right, Randy, you want me to do it? He beat me to it. Randy Rhodes from, let's see, Our Roads Lead to Home Genealogy. That's Rhodes, Rhodes. If you're interested, message Randy, and he'll ask you for some basic information about you and your parents, your grandparents, maybe as far as your great-grandparents. And in as little as 15 minutes, he can go back 5 generations. And maybe one day, in as little as 5 minutes, he'll be able to go back 15 generations. No, in as little as 15 minutes, he can go back 5 generations and give you an idea as to whether or not you might want to go further. Yes, there are fees involved, but the fees are minimal and much less than anybody else for the amount of time that Randy does spend doing the research. So if you're interested, Our Roads Lead to Home Genealogy. Message Randy Rhodes on Facebook Messenger and go from there. Sundays, on the road to Dixie on the Randy Rhodes channel. I don't know. I guess in light of the battle in the South now, it may not be happening. But he does have another broadcast, which I believe is called Studio 6. And that may take over for a little bit. I don't really know. I am going to say in the closing that, I've been on Facebook for 15 years. I have groups that they don't like. I have groups that maybe a majority of people on Facebook don't like. I have a profile that a majority of people on Facebook don't like. We do broadcasts now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. and Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. And we're trying to work in a 10 a.m. Saturday morning broadcast when we can. And, you have a right to talk about what you want to talk about and do whatever you want to do. And sometimes you just have to battle with Facebook, and sometimes you have to go someplace else. If you're thinking about going to X, which hopefully is going to become Twitter again, I read yesterday, and I don't know if it is 100% certain or just something that Elon Musk is talking about or people are saying he's talking about. If he goes back to this plan, X will become Twitter again. You'll be able to have a free Twitter account, and you'll be able to read Twitter. You just won't be able to post on Twitter. It will cost you $1 per post on Twitter. I can't see a lot of people remaining on Twitter if that happens. I can see a lot of people thinking about joining Instagram and joining threads through Instagram and using it, because I am using it and finding a lot of good stuff on it. That's not just the typical stuff on Facebook that's election manipulation. It's actually the good guys, Charlie Kirk and other big names that are going on to threads and posting, and a lot of good stuff you can share. So take a look at threads, and if something happens to Twitter and you're not going to pay $1 per tweet, then that may be where you want to go. But also take a look at Rumble and go over there. You might want to be over there. You might be happy over there. If you broadcast, you might want to be over there as well. I don't know what will happen with landing Boogie with the Bull broadcast on Twitter. If it's going to cost you $1 to tweet, it's probably going to cost you a lot more to land broadcasts, and I don't know if we will do that. Anyway, it's 11:06. It's time to probably feed me. I fed the dog and I fed the cat before the broadcast, and other than that, it's time to feed me. So, Boogie with the Bull. Wednesday morning caffeine will come to an end. This is the part of the broadcast where we say you've been watching Boogie with the Bull. Wednesday morning caffeine, a copyrighted presentation of the No Budget Broadcasting Company, and leave it at that. We didn't violate anybody's copyrights today, so we're not worried about it. I want to thank Chad Smith for watching, and we'll scroll back up. Tommy M. Hagan for watching. Danny Campbell, who has now watched more Boogie with the Bull broadcast than anybody else in the history of Boogie with the Bull broadcast, even William Grant, because I didn't see William Grant here this morning. So stick around. Like I said, tomorrow it's 7 p.m. to about 8:30, and open topics, open discussion broadcast. No guests as far as I know, but I mean guests that if you want to be on the anchor desk, you're more than welcome to join us, but no guests on a topic like we had last night. We did a great broadcast last night with Susan Ricardo, who is was a trafficked adult who escaped. I think she said she's been back in her own life for about 3 years now. Go to my profile and you can watch the broadcast. Several other people did reach out. We might plan some others in the future. More of a discussion, not just a interview, but more of a discussion where Jen Woodruff will lead, and we'll just go through there. Anyway, I'm Dave Gorman. You're not. Let's see, we'll go up. Double B's for victory. This Boogie with the Bull broadcast is coming to an end. One more time.